Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. This is Julie Bruns, and you are about to be inspired. I am so excited to share my conversations with amazing people from all walks of life who figured out how to be happy, peaceful, and content doing work they love and making the world a better place so that you can see what's possible for your life. I can't wait to hear what you think. Send me an email and let me know one thing you're taking away from this episode. And never forget, anything really is possible. Welcome to this episode, everyone. My guest this week is Lisa Haisha. And Lisa and I were introduced through David Marsh. And he's going to be on my podcast if you're listening to this and you haven't seen it yet. He is a filmmaker and storyteller. And I'm always looking for great people to have on my podcast that love what they do. And he said, you have to meet Lisa. And so that's why we're talking today. So thanks for joining, Lisa.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So tell everyone what you do. I know David said you work together. I don't know if you've known each other for a long time, but you are filmmaking, or tell everyone what you do in your career now and how you figured out to do something so awesome.
Yeah, David and I worked together during the pandemic. Instead of sitting around going, there's nothing to do, we created two films, two documentaries, and one with master teachers. So that was wonderful because I made a call to several of my friends and we got to have one-on-one with some of the greatest teachers out there, like Wim Hof, Jack Canfield, Byron Katie, some really great people. So then we got to edit it and do all this fun stuff. And
what's that movie?
Pardon me?
What's that one called?
Conversations with Master Teachers, and it's on different streaming networks.
Okay.
Yes, and then I worked with metaphysical healers. We found 10 metaphysical healers to see what works and what doesn't, especially during the pandemic. So that was really fun. We got some great leads for some of these innovative, artists of health, and it was really wonderful.
Nice. That's so cool. Were you always involved in spiritual work, or did you do something in a past life? What's your career journey been like?
Well, my mom was into it in the 60s and 70s before anyone else's, and she was going to Est and all that stuff. And we're like, Mom, you're crazy. She sat there and talked to her angels and they guided her on what to do. We're like, okay, Mom, sure. So I'm sure she was a huge influence because I kind of poo-pooed it for a long time. And then it was like, maybe there's something here. And I ended up getting a master's in spiritual psychology. So yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing. That's so cool. Master's in spiritual psychology. Sounds familiar, but I don't think I realized there was an actual graduate track. That's awesome. Okay. So have you done that your whole career? That kind of work?
No, I moved to LA to be an actress. But coming from Middle Eastern roots, it didn't really work out well for me because you're going to embarrass our whole family is almost every role that I got. If it was any kissing scene, any sense of nudity or transparency, or even I got a soap opera and I couldn't even pretend to make out under the covers, even if I was dressed. And so I'm like, okay, I've got to quit this.
Oh my God.
So I got a Pierce Brosnan HBO film that was a $6 million budget, which was supposed to be my big break, but I was supposed to be nude the whole time, like covering myself. He was a sculptor and I was his wife and he was sculpting me. So you couldn't see anything, but I'm like, I can't do this, so I got to quit. What am I going to do now with my life? So it was one of those. And so I got into writing and I got a book on how to write a screenplay in 21 days. Wow. And I happened to meet somebody. I was, for just jobs to get by, I was working at this Gorky's Cafe and Russian Brewery and as a bartender. And then I saw that we didn't have a lot of business from 1 to 4 because it was 24 hours. So I created an open mic 1 to 4. This is before open mics were a thing. And I got all these cool cats coming in like Iggy Pop, Shaka Khan, Judd Nelson, Charlie Sheen, all these people came. So it was like I got to hang out with these people in the middle of the night. So it was a great gig Thursday through Saturday night. And through that, I met somebody there. He was this French guy, an artist, a painter, a filmmaker, a musician. And we started talking after a couple of months because he went to every single show every single rehearsal. And he said, oh, you want to write? He's like, my dad's getting married in Tahiti. He owns an island there. Why don't you come with me and write your screenplay? Because he's getting married. And I just went, okay. And long story short, went to Tahiti. And then we went to Brando's Island, which was right there. You just take a little boat there. And I wrote, page 1, how to write a screenplay in 21 days, create a protagonist. You need it. Okay. Da, 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 da. What do I do next? Da, 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 da. And then I wrote it and I sold it when I came back within 3 months for 75 grand. And that was like amazing. I was just 28 years old. And then I was waiting for that to get made. And then the company went under. It was Orion. It was a big company like Paramount or whatever. And I asked for my script back and they said, no, we already put too much money into it. You have to pay us like 3 times the amount if you want it back. I'm like, but you guys aren't going to do anything with it.
Oh my gosh.
That's the way it goes. So I said, oh, I've got to become a producer. Because I thought, oh, let me write, produce, direct instead of act. And then, so then I got an offer to go to Japan because I still kept my agent, but not, for acting, but for commercials. And so I went to Japan, and unbeknownst to me, they had the most money in the world at that time. So money was coming out of the woodwork. So I raised $1 million within 3 months and came back, and I pitched my story, which is good for your readers or listeners, that in school, I actually took finance also. I studied psychology and finance. And what they told you when you try to raise money or finance, you give your card, you hold it in 2 hands and you bow, and you give it.
That. I was in Singapore for business one time. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. So I did the opposite. I was like, I'm all that and then some. And when they said, what, I was talking to a board of a ball bearing company, and they said, why should we invest in this? Where's the script? I said, the script's here. I'm not going to give it to you because you might make it without me. Like, okay. And they're like, where's the budget? I said, the budget's $1 million. Well, where is it? I said, that's it. Because that's when Tarantino was doing movies. And all the films at that time were $1 million budget. So I said, they're all $1 million. They just put in numbers and then it's never correct. Then at the end, I'm going to ask you for another $250,000 because it always goes over budget, $250,000 for marketing and post. I said, so it's really a $1,250,000, but I'm going to ask you for $1 million now. And I'm going to hit you up towards the end of the film for another $250,000. So keep that. He's like, I said, that's just what everyone does. So that's all I know. So what's the story about? Then I'm like, LA and Tokyo, because I was in Tokyo, and hot love and cold fish because we were eating sushi. It's like, okay, they love sex and all that, it's like a hostess clubs. And they're like, okay. So they ended up liking the idea, but they said, why should we invest in this? What if we lose? I said, you won't lose because you're paying taxes. And their taxes were horrendous, like 70-80%. So I said, you're spending so much in taxes every year, and none of them got a salary. They all got paid by, perks. You get a computer, you get a car, you get a credit card to go out to clubs at night to network. I said, but you guys don't actually get cash. So even if you lose money, you're just not going to pay $1 million in taxes. But what you're going to get is an experience for your life that you're going to get to tell your grandchildren, your children, everyone. Yeah. You're going to have stories. I said, now you guys are all so boring. You all wear blue and gray suits. You're all just business, business, business. You're all depressed, unhappily married. You have nothing really. All you're doing is you're robots working for $1 that you don't even get. You get what you get, but regardless if you make money. And you're unhappy in your marriage because you're working all the time. You're robot. I said, I'm going to give you a year to learn English better, to buy real estate here because they were all here. I go, you're all getting ripped off because you're Asians. I said, but we'll pretend we're doing it and then we'll give you the price. You're going to get to meet. They loved Americans. Girls, I've got all the American girls are going to want to talk to you because you're financiers for a film. I said, this is going to be the year of your life. Yeah. So they said, okay. I said, but the key is the money has to be in my account within 3 months or I'm letting someone else invest. They're like, no, you said we could invest. I said, oh my gosh. And it was in my bank account. Then I'm like, okay, let's write a script and let's.
I love the way you did that. How you were just like, I'm going to do this. You're going to figure out a way. You talk to them and you were aware of what they needed and wanted and their lifestyle and all of that. And then you just geared the story towards that and got what you wanted with obviously telling the truth and still being able to have your story. But Really, really smart.
Yeah, because most people go in when they're asking for money, or even if they want a job, they sell themselves so much. Instead of selling yourself so much, think about the other person. What do they want? What do they need?
Yes.
Even when I was going to an audition once, I went in there and it was like a lot of money for 3 hours of work, because it was going to be a national commercial is what they thought. It's a big Bank of America. So it was an open call, and I went there in the morning and I went in so nervous. Oh, I hope they like me. So it's written on your forehead. We think we're hiding things.
Yeah.
And then, so you're doing it. It's like, oh, please like me. Please like me. Am I doing this right? Am I doing this? What am I doing? And then when I was done, they said, oh, thank you very much. And in LA, that means you suck, get out of here. You're never hearing from us again. So I went back at the end of the day, changed my hair, different headshot, and went in. They go, God, you look familiar. I go, oh, I work all the time. Of course I look familiar, and they're like, oh, okay, this is what they want you to do. And I did it as if this is what they need and I'm the right person for it. I'm giving them a gift. And once I did it that way, they said, oh, wow, you're very good. Then they were rifling through the photos. And I go, wait, isn't this you? I'm like, oh no, that's my twin sister. She's a horrible actress. She
Oh my God.
money, even though I have a twin, but she's not an actress. But I just used that popped in my head. And I said, oh my God, yeah, big difference. I said, yeah. And then I got home and I got the call. And that was like 25 grand. And it was just, again, just changing your mind. And that's kind of like the work I do with my book, Soul Blazing, that just came out. Get it on Amazon. But yeah, it talks about the imposters in your head, which is the, voices that keep telling you you're not good enough or you're not ready. You are ready. You got to just start and jump into things. And that's how I've always done it. Because if you don't just jump into things, you're going to just wait forever to be perfect. And perfectionism is a crime, because you're holding your gifts. You're hoarding who your true authentic self is from the world, because you have to grow with us. We are patient.
That's awesome. I love that story. I love that. What do you think? Like, so obviously getting a degree in spiritual psychology, you're constantly reflecting and learning and growing. What is something you wish, looking back on your career and after writing this book, is there anything you wish you learned a little bit earlier in your career that you were like, oh, if I just gotten that lesson? I've been having a lot of these lately in the last couple of years, but is there any one thing that sticks out for you that you wish you'd learned a lot earlier?
Well, that's a great question. I wish I learned, which I learned through trial and error, like those stories I told you, but to just go the way the river flows. It's much easier to go with the river. So whatever is happening, like with my acting career, it was like closed door, closed door, closed door, because I had so many limitations of roles I could take and what I could do. And I had little tolerance for like the Me Too stuff going on at that time. It was just like, no. And so I quit. So the way the river was flowing was go down this way or don't play. And I just like, okay, I won't play. So I would say just flow. And every time I didn't flow, I got burned or I got sad or I got a broken heart or something happened. There's signs, and we have to look at those signs. If you're in the wrong relationship, but you're going, oh, I could change this person, or, it's not right now, but it can be. I see, but cut your losses, just move on, because love is not supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be a joy. And I've had that too, the joy where it's just, oh, this is so easy.
It. And I think some people, especially younger people, don't necessarily, if they're in a relationship that isn't flowing well and they think they can, try harder, make it work, whatever. If they've never felt the flow and the joy that you were just talking about, they think, oh, I'm going to have it once I do this, this, and this. No. It's just there automatically. It should be super easy. Like you said, even in work and life, it's not always going to be easy, but the flow, everyone knows the difference between something flowing easily and something not. And when you're not, because you're going against a river, things take a lot more effort, it takes a ton more energy, right? And you also miss those other things. Like if you hadn't stopped and said no to acting, you would have missed all these other opportunities for screenwriting and writing and producing and directing. You would have just kept focusing on that. And you're like, you eventually probably would have been successful doing some of those things, but you would have missed out on all these other things that you're obviously a lot more passionate about.
The biggest thing is when I quit acting, I started traveling to find myself. And that took me to over 60 countries.
Wow.
And I would not have done that if I had an acting career. I would have had a bunch of movie credits, maybe of half of them that I didn't even like or respect myself for doing. But I got to go live with the Sufis in Cappadocia for several months and learn how they live. I got to live with the Maasai tribe and study their culture and how they find their soul and how they're grounded to earth. When you live in LA and you're in this energy, it's complicated because morals are flying all over the place and creativity, and you get lost in all these amazing people who are doing incredible stuff. And you keep every day, God, I'm such a loser. Look at all these people doing amazing things. So I kept getting away and reconnecting, like what I teach in this book, My Authentic Soul. And a lot of these stories are in that book because it's really about learning. And I didn't know it while I was doing that, but I was learning about how to live and how to be grateful and how to be in the moment by all these different people. I stayed with the Bedouins in the mountains of Petra. I stayed with the Aborigines in Australia, all these great things. And I realized the biggest gift you could give someone is being a storyteller, sharing your experiences, because stories are everything. You know, Steinbeck said, people don't take trips take people, which is what happened to me, because when you're on a journey, I always said, I don't want to plan anything. So I would just land. I don't want to say, oh, I'm going to stay at this hotel and go to this side. And I said, let me arrive and let me see where it takes me. I go out to breakfast and I try to find my soul family, and then, oh, can I stay with you? And I want this journey. I end up staying with people and just not doing all the sites necessarily, but immersing myself in a culture. I'd always travel for 2 or 3 months at a time. And I did not have money at the time either. I just had a lot of drive and didn't care if I slept on park benches or whatever it was. I just figured it out, $7 a night for hostels, but I just needed to get there to see. So one's destination is never a place, but a new way of seeing things. So I think like the purpose of a storyteller is not to tell you how to think, but to give you questions to think upon. And from all these travels, it took me all over the world. So I try to tell people, be a storyteller, live a life that you could create all these stories and all these experiences that you could share with the world, because stories have to be told. Otherwise you're not enriching the next generation. And if you have stories and you don't tell them, they just die. So we don't remember who we are or why we're here. So we have to share our lives with other people. So by not being an actress, which is what I thought I wanted to do, to tell stories, I ended up traveling to all these countries and having all these stories to tell because I lived them. So instead of playing a character on screen,
your story instead of someone else's. And your life is probably way, way, way more richer.
Oh, it is. It is.
Yes,
especially I'm part Iraqi, half Iraqi. My dad's from Baghdad, and I went back to Iraq during the Gulf War. And I went in, that's a whole nother story that we don't have time for this, but I ended up going to an orphanage there and got obsessed with these kids and the suffering, and we got to help them and got to help kids. And that led me to 5 years to 15 orphanages in different countries. And that just changed my life. Then I wrote a book about that called Whispers from Children's Hearts. It's kind of a table book. Then I gave that to schools and libraries for free. And then I started getting asked to speak. Then I moved to Barcelona to put my daughter there in first grade about 5 years ago. And then they asked all the, people like us from different countries that are there for a specific reason, like school, wanting to experience a country, to go speak at the mayor's mansion. And I thought it was like to 10 people just to go, what's your experience being in this Barcelona and how are people treating you? What can we do better? Because that's how they pitched it. They asked me to go speak on stage, and it was in front of 1,000 people. And I'm like, what? Tell us about Whispers from Children's Hearts and this and that. So I told them, and I started, everyone, will you speak at my school? Will you speak here? So I became a speaker. That's how I never planned on it.
Right.
That's why in life you have to look at your life, and instead of trying to go, oh, how do I create a life? And sometimes you have to dream it. I think what I teach now, my soul blazing classes and soul blazing Zooms, is you have to go into almost like a trance and the theta level. And so that's why you have to put headphones on and go into a meditation or listen to a meditation, which I create for people also. But who you are, remember who you are, what you want, do a mind dump and write down everything that you want, that you see for yourself and what doesn't work, and start getting rid of it and start being conscious of it, because awakening is being conscious of the unconscious thoughts, which I call imposters, that are in your head. Once you could name it, you could claim it, because now they're like a jumble of yarn with different colors. The red strand is, family issues. The red, blue strand is career. The green is, whatever, finances. The blue is family, friends, or whatever. So it's like, once you could start unraveling, going, God, what stories am I telling from my childhood, from this and that? And you could reinvent yourself and change your stories and start creating a new you. What do you want to create? Then when you're in the silence of meditation and this music, and putting the headphones in so you could listen to it, because you've got to get out of your body, out of your mind, out of your environment, so you don't keep going, oh, if I'm just sitting here meditating without in the headphones, like, oh God, that book I have to read, right? I've got to get that to my accountant. I've got to finish, even while you're in the meditative state. So you've got to, I put a mask on my eyes, I put the headphones in, and I listen. This is who you are, Lisa. And it's just who I am. Then you start being that person. You start developing those habits of those person. What does it take to be the person I imagine? And you write down those skills. And then you start practicing them, and get up at 4 a.m. and do this, then go back to sleep still, because you're still in that drowsy state. I swear to God, it'll change your life forever, because at that time, in that dream state, your mind is influenced. Most people go to bed listening to the news and arguing. All the medicine you need to take, and take this for this and that, all the commercials and the negative, everything is the sky is falling. So stop.
Put the good stuff in. I love that question. You said, what does it take to be the person I imagine? Like, what a beautiful way to wake up and think about it, or go to sleep and think about, because you're putting all that good stuff in your head, and you think about what you can create. Like you said, creating a new story. I love that. It's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. And it's so easy, Julie. It's so easy.
I agree.
And we don't do it because, I don't have time, or I'm lazy. Well, if you don't have time, you don't really want a life worth living.
I said that in
a workshop last week.
It's like, you make time for what is important to you. And if you can watch the news for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and you can meditate for 5 minutes. Yeah.
And
so Lisa, you have a book. Name the movies if people want to check out the movies, and then the book, and where people can find you.
Well, you could go to my website, soulblazing.com, and under media, it has several films and stuff that I've been in and that are streaming right now. Soulblazing.com, go under media. My book, Soul Blazing, is out. And I have other books on there too that I've written and been a part of. And you could reach me on all social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I'm on all of them, Twitter, TikTok. Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited to check out your book and your meditations too. I love meditating. I've been doing it for 5 years.
Yeah.
Everything you shared today. I wrote a ton of great notes, and I know people are going to be inspired. There's a lot when someone like you, who's been studying this kind of thing a lot for years, and talking about it and sharing. There's so much good stuff. We could probably talk for hours about all the stuff, but it's fun to have a little taste of what's out there, what people could do. So I really appreciate everything you shared today.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for being
Lisa. Here. Great luck with all of the movies. And it's been really nice meeting you. Thank you.
Yeah, nice meeting you too. Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Take care.
Thanks for listening. I hope you loved this episode. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, review, and share it. I hope you were truly inspired. And for a little more inspiration, don't forget to pick up my book, Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective: 8 Secrets to Serenity and Satisfaction in Your Life and Career. I can't wait to get you love in your life.